All right. Good afternoon. Good evening. Welcome. It is 9:30 on a fantastic Monday. Hope everybody's having a great start to the week. And God is blessing us with another great day. We're here doing some best ball fantasy drafts. My name is Nick, aka Perfect 216, and this is Main Event Fantasy. We're going to be drafting some underdog drafts. That's what we do here. We focus mostly on underdog best ball drafts. That's why we draft so many teams. We will draft over 700 teams before the season even starts, and we can do that because there is no time commitment when you do best ball drafts in the middle of the drafting season because there's no action you need to do, no management from your teams. You draft your team, and the best players will play, and that's kind of how it works. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about best ball draft strategies for 2025. And I've got some great information to share while we're drafting tonight. I'm going to show you and talk about what worked in 2023, what worked in 2024, what we learned from the last couple of years, and then how I've chosen to shape my opinions of 2025. So we'll look at data and hopefully that will guide us in where we go. So if you're new here and you enjoy any of the content, just give us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can let me know if you have any comments. Jump in the chat below. In the description, there is a link to Underdog Fantasy if you wanted to come draft with us live. We would love to have you here, and we can hang out and interact together. So let's kind of get started and jumping into a draft. Puppy 2 is almost filled. So the Puppy 2 is a $5 entry tournament. As we've been talking about, 225,000 people will be in this tournament, and it's 97% filled. So we're running low on time to finish these. 100,000 for first place. And again, as you look through this, just kind of as a reminder, if you don't know what best ball is, you're going to draft 18 players in most of these tournaments. One quarterback will play, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, which is a 1 running back, wide receiver, or tight end, and 1 tight end, and the rest will be benched. And you don't have to decide who plays. The best players each week will play for you. So let's jump in, and then we'll start getting set up to talk a little bit about best ball draft strategies. And, if you've played best ball, you kind of have an idea already of what I'm talking about. You've heard the terms like zero RB and hero or anchor RB or elite quarterback, things like that. So we're going to talk about all of it today and talk about what's been working and what do we want to do this year and prioritize. So we're going to get the 107 to start. Nice place right in the middle of the draft. If you're in here and you are drafting with us and you managed to get in, by all means, throw a chat. Let us know where you're at in the chat. So while we're waiting for this to start, I just kind of want to begin tonight by talking about what are the different best ball draft strategies and to kind of explain them for people who may not know or understand what are drafting strategies and why do they matter. So data helps us understand, what has happened, what worked, and you can kind of shift your strategy beyond there. Because when we're going in here trying to win $100,000 here in the Puppy 2, we want to use some optimal draft strategies that have either proven to be pretty successful or what we think might be leaned on this year based on how the NFL has changed. And so we can optimize our chances to make some money and to draft that perfect team. So let's see what we get here at the 1-7, and then we'll start talking about some of those draft strategies here as we go. Amsterdam Admirals on the clock. Takes Saquon Barkley at 5. Pretty standard Jeff Gibbs at 6. I'm not big on McCaffrey here. I just explained that a little bit yesterday. I'll get some of him, but I'm not going to be overweight on him. I am underweight Puka, so I don't have a problem getting a piece of him here. So when talking about draft strategies. Let's just kind of go through what some of them are. So the first one I'll talk about is hero RB, or anchor running back, as some call it. The idea behind a hero RB draft strategy is you're going to draft one elite running back in rounds 1 and 2, or rounds 1 or 2, and then you kind of hammer the wide receivers and other positions, filling in running back later on in the draft. This works well because you lock in that running back production early. Remember, you only need to start 2, so you kind of lock yourself into one, and then you just try and find one rotating, throughout the draft later on that can fill that second RB spot. It's been successful over the years. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, about the history of how that's worked out. All right, A.J. Brown's here. I like it. We'll grab Puka and A.J. Brown to kind of start off this draft. Feels pretty good. The second one I'll talk about is zero RB. So zero RB is when you avoid running back completely in the early rounds. Typically, you're avoiding the first 5 to 6 rounds of running back. You're loading up on your wide receivers. Maybe you're grabbing a tight end early or an elite quarterback. People think this works because wide receivers often are more predictable, and with the spike weeks, running backs are more volatile, and you can get more value later on in the draft because it's a high injury position and a lot of chaos in the year. And so a lot of people have really, and this used to be like the strategy nobody wanted to do years ago, in 2021, 2022. And then the last couple of years, it started to rise in popularity because it was pretty successful overall in 2023. Let's see what comes around to us here. Be picking at 31. T. Higgins goes at 27. Chase Brown at 28. Admirals takes Adams at 29. Harrison goes at 30. I would have loved Harrison there. Y'all know how I feel about Harrison. If you've watched any of my videos, he is my number one preferred option at right now at cost. I'm going to grab Lamar Jackson here and get our elite quarterback picked up. We'll see what kind of comes around to us here. Just kind of continuing on in our draft strategies explanation. The next one I'll talk about is what we'll call a hyper fragile running back. So a hyper fragile running back start is when you draft 3 really strong running backs in the first 4 rounds. In other words, you draft 3 amazing core running backs, high ceilings, and then you just stop drafting running backs. The idea why this works is that you maximize the predictability of running backs early, get high upside guys later, and you kind of take shots, you get a high amount of wide receivers later on. Usually, this is not the best strategy typically in the past for people to take. It's not my recommended way to go about it, but we'll talk more about that. I think there's ways where you can get close to that strategy and have some success, but we'll get into that in just a little bit here. Rashee Rice goes at 40. I still think he's going to drop a little more once his suspension gets announced, whatever the NFL is going to do to him. If you're not aware, Rashee Rice did plead guilty, I think it was, and he's going to get some jail time for what happened. So with that being said, I think we'll just take our friend Xavier Worthy here. I think he's going to keep slowly rising up draft boards, especially what you'll see is drafters will hear the news and then overreact to news in some cases, meaning once they announce Rice's actual suspension, let's say he misses 6 games, this is what I'm thinking, Worthy will shoot up boards. And if I'm getting him now at 42, and then after that happens, people start taking him in the 3rd round, then all of a sudden I've got pieces of Xavier Worthy at a better value than other teams are going to have, if he's the guy you need. So, that'll work in our favor. So we've talked about hero RB, zero RB, hyper fragile RB. The next one I'll talk about is elite quarterback plus a stack. That's when you're getting one of the elite quarterbacks early, within the first 5 rounds. And this year, what is defined as an elite quarterback is really going to be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, or Jalen Hurts. There are no other quarterbacks that go in the first 5 rounds unless somebody's reaching at a guy. Some people would consider Joe Burrow an elite quarterback. In the real world, he's 100% an elite quarterback for me, but I don't consider him elite for the definition of an elite quarterback here. But I will get him if I get him with T. Higgins or Jamar Chase in the 6th round here, like at pick 71, 72, to pair up with them. And he falls there. I will pick him up and I will treat him like an elite quarterback. But I don't think the whole market necessarily considers him that, because he doesn't have the running ability like Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen, and Jaden Daniels do. And rushing upside is huge in fantasy football, if you don't know that already. Zay Flowers goes, we really wanted him to pair up with Lamar Jackson, but that's okay. We will let it ride and we'll make it work. Hubbard goes, I was probably going to grab Hubbard there, but instead, going to get a piece of Calvin Ridley here, and it'll be our 4th wide receiver. So far through 5 rounds, we got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, no running backs. Wide receiver, we have Puka, A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Calvin Ridley. I don't like not having a running back in the first 5 rounds, personally. But one thing that regardless of the draft strategy that you choose to go by and how it falls to you, one thing you don't want to ever sacrifice is ADP, meaning average draft value, or EV, expected value. Meaning, I don't want to reach and give up, too much and just to grab a guy when I'm giving value away that someone else is going to get in a better position than me. Meaning, if we get into week 17 and we're competing for $100,000 here and for the puppy too, if I have, like I said, Joe Burrow stacked with Jamar Chase and I got him at 72, but you got him around earlier, he's sacrificing value on other players that he would have gotten that might have helped him that I'm going to have. So you'd rather be in my position. RJ Harvey is a little bit of the faller here. We'll grab him. We need a running back. And so we'll take him as our first RB. Continuing down our draft strategies, double hero RB. So similar to the hero or the hyper fragile, when you're focusing on some early round running backs, double hero RB is a concept where you draft 2 elite running backs in the first 2 to 3 rounds, and then you wait a long time before adding any depth. This kind of locks in that running back production. Remember, you have to start 2 for sure, and kind of mitigates the risk of bust at the position. The deeper you go in drafts, you could have some dead roster spots, with some of your running backs. You could get guys like, let's say, Zach Charbonnet you get later on in drafts, and you think, well, he's one of my guys I'm counting on to get points. But what if Kenneth Walker stays healthy all year, absolutely crushes, and you don't see Zach Charbonnet see the field, and then all of a sudden you have a dead roster spot when you needed a good Lord. A running back to play. So it's less risky taking someone like that when Saquon Barkley, for example, and Josh Jacobs are going to get a lot of touches. They're going to be a focal point. They're going to get in the end zone. They're going to be the third down back. They're going to catch passes, etc. As long as these guys stay healthy, if you get these 2 early on in a draft compared together, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't need very many more running backs. I'm getting a lot of points out of that position, and I can take more shots in wide receiver. So that can be a very effective draft strategy. usually the question then is, can you make up the wide receiver depth? And I'll kind of explain why and what that means here in just a second. All right. I know what I want to do. We'll see what happens here. Jair really likes to take his timer down to 0. Either he's on auto pick or he's just letting it go. All right, we're going to take Matthew Golden here. I talked about there's a little bit of a tier break, in my opinion, after Shakir. And by getting Golden, he's a rookie. Don't know what we're going to get. Could be huge upside on offense. It could get better. And in Week 17, they play Baltimore. So we have a Week 17 correlation or bring back, if you will, there. So going back to some of the strategies again, double hero RB. We talked about that one. The next one I'll talk about is elite tight end strategy. This is just a strategy where you just say, hey, I want one of the top tight ends early, and then you avoid the position until the end of the drafts, usually. Why that, can work is, if you have an elite top tight end and it's a heavy hitter and it does hit, gives you a major advantage weekly, helps with advance rates. When everyone else is just trying to find those points, broken up between who might get a lucky touchdown, right, later on in the draft. And every week you're hoping some guy falls into the end zone. You hope Juwan Johnson stumbles in the end zone a couple times, and then you hope, maybe somebody else on the back end of drafts can grab you some touchdowns, and they just kind of break it up between the rest of them. So, all right, we are going to grab another running back here. We'll get Aaron Jones to kind of keep rolling. So that's the elite tight end concept. And you have something called robust RB. This is another iteration of the running backs but in this case, you're drafting, usually this is 3 or 4 running backs in the first 4 to 5 rounds. This means you're getting a lot of safety and depth at a very volatile position. Why people see this as working is it's less risky if the injuries hit, and you still have, running backs that are strong and provide you some, big time scoring and some consistent scoring. This is usually not a good strategy in best ball drafts. It's usually a better strategy in your regular redrafts or in smaller leagues where there's more depth at other positions, like wide receiver. Then you have a couple of other ones. You have bully tight end. Bully tight end is a draft strategy where you say, you know what, I'm going to get 2 elite level tight ends. And by the way, elite tight ends are, for this year, you're looking really at Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle are considered the elite tight ends. Everyone else here, once you get to like Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, that's more of a mid-tier. There's a tier break there. Those are not considered elite. Doesn't mean they can't be. That's just not what they're considered. All right. So I was actually probably going to get ETN, but this is a sign that I should take Mark Andrews and stack him up with Lamar Jackson as the first pass catcher we're going to stack with him. So feel good about that. This draft's kind of coming together pretty nicely. Not reaching, getting some decent values, nothing crazy. There is, I will say this, there is one draft strategy that gets talked about. And I saw it yesterday. If you watched our stream yesterday, somebody got what's called double elite quarterback. They think they went Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen or Lamar, one of those, and 2 of those guys on the same team. Let me just tell you right now, my friend, don't do it. You can only play one, and you do not want to give up in the top 5 rounds. You're just throwing one of those picks every week away. Like you're just giving up a pick of really talented players because only one of them is going to play, and you're giving yourself a huge disadvantage right out of the gate. And if one of those elite quarterbacks is the guy you needed to win the league, the other guy's a dead pick anyway, and so you really put yourself at a disadvantage. So I would tell you, never, ever, 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 ever do double elite quarterback. Marvin Mims goes at 111. That seems a little early for him. We'd like to get Bateman here, and we will, to pair him up with Lamar Jackson, and that is our double stack here with Lamar Jackson, Bateman, and Andrews. So far we've got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, RJ Harvey, Aaron Jones at running back, Puka, AJ Brown, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Matthew Golden, Rashad Bateman at wide receiver. Feel good there. Mark Andrews at tight end. And then we do have a Week 17 bring back with Matthew Golden because Green Bay plays Baltimore in Week 17. Part of draft strategy, and I talk about it in almost every video, is the concept of Week 17 is all that matters because that is the best ball playoff week, and you want to correlate people to raise your ceiling that if that game goes off and you're double betting down that's the game, and you already have this, a quarterback and a couple of pass catchers, and then somebody else on the other team, that is also going off, and that game has 75 points scored, and that's the highest scoring game of the week. Then you're increasing the odds that you're going to be winning a whole lot of money versus trying to pick up a whole bunch of players spread across all the games. You're just kind of doubling down on that bet. And that is a fantastic way to draft. And I almost always shoot for that. The stacks are the most important, but if you can bring back that correlation for Week 17, it's really kind of a core, regardless of what draft strategy you use. Stacking your quarterbacks and Week 17 correlation are just call that greens fees for being a successful best ball drafter. All right. Kraft goes. We could go Love. We could go Javonte. We do need another running back. Love would be another stack here. But I do think we can get like a Rams or Tennessee stack later. And who knows if Love will come back to us. And we really do need a little bit of running back value. So you kind of, want to look ahead and kind of forecast out what might happen. The chances of Javonte coming back are a lot less likely than Jordan Love when we have 10 picks away. And so you just kind of take your shots. And when you realize that you still have stacking opportunities later with Matthew Stafford or, Cam Ward, it still gives you more outs at quarterback. So you don't have to force that. And you don't fall further behind at wide receiver. And actually, at this point, I feel really good that we have a strong chance that Love will still be there because two quarterbacks, 3, 2, they probably don't need another quarterback already. So they're most likely not going to get 3 to 4 quarterbacks. So he may fall, and it may work out in our benefit. And it does. So this is what experienced drafting will tell you and will help. I could have taken Love, who was first on the board, over Williams, but as you can see, it played out the best case scenario, and we ended up getting both guys. So feel really good about how this draft is falling. This is, I would say 101 on how you want to think about as you draft your team. And hopefully that is beneficial to you guys. So now that we've kind of talked about the different draft strategies, I want to kind of share my thoughts on each individual one, which ones I prefer, why I like those, and we'll kind of do that here as we close out this draft. And before I reveal, my top 2 to 3 draft strategies. I will kind of go through after this draft's over, and I'm going to show you a comparison between 2023, what worked, 2024, what worked, and the different strategies, their rankings, so to speak, based on how they performed throughout all of best ball drafting. And then I will show you, give you my opinion on 2025. But let's see if we can make something happen with the rest of this draft. Tillman goes. Y'all know I like Tillman where he goes down here. We needed another running back. I'm in on Tyler Algier. I love where he goes. He always gets yards, touches, solid points. Even with Bijan on his team, he still has a role on that offense because he is a talented running back. And this is a pure, if you look at a handcuff running back, that's a guy where if the league back goes down, he takes over and can absolutely be a league winner. And that's the kind of guy Tyler Algier is, where, he could absolutely crush. He's got the talent to do it. He's proven that. So if Bijan happens to go down, heaven forbid, he could absolutely crush and be a league winner for us. So now we're 7 picks away here, and we've already got 6 wide receivers. We need 2 more tight ends probably here. I'm probably going to do 2 more running backs. We're done at quarterback. When we get an elite quarterback, guys, if you ever get an elite quarterback, just stop at 2. Unless something crazy happens, and I mean absolutely crazy, like a huge fall in ADP, and you get a stack with it, it's not worth it to get a third quarterback because you're just less likely to use them because you're counting on that elite quarterback to give you a ton of points. Kind of struggling here. I like both of these options. These are definitely some guys that I like as we go further down the draft. I see Jerome Ford climbing up the draft boards now. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get Romeo Doubs here and be our last probably wide receiver. We'll see how that plays out. That gives us now a double stack on Green Bay with Jordan Love. So 2 pass catchers there. We have Lamar Jackson that has Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, 2 pass catchers there. If Green Bay versus Baltimore in Week 17 goes off and we make it to the fantasy football playoffs, I mean, we're going to crush, right? As long as those are the guys that go off in that game, we feel really good about that. So now we're definitely going to get 2 more running backs. I don't love our running back room. I think we need some shots here. We are relying on our wide receivers to carry the flex position. And when you look at what we have here, I feel like we can do that every week with the wide receivers we've drafted. I feel really, really good about that. So we'll definitely get 2 more running backs. We'll get 2 more tight ends, and then we'll be done because we got 4 picks, left to go. A little bit of run on quarterbacks here, 4 in a row, and then the draft kind of comes around. Jalen Noel goes. Is it Noel or Noel? I got to look that up, or somebody can tell me. If you're in here in the chat, somebody type that down below. Is it Noel, like Christmas holiday Noel, or is it Noel? I don't want to insult the man the more I keep talking about him. We get Roschon Johnson share here. He's just the top of the ADP for my guys that I've selected. I don't have a ton of him, but I think the offense of Chicago could get better this year. Chicago can run the ball, and if Swift just kind of isn't the guy, then Roschon could be the year he breaks out. So I'll take a shot at him on an offense that could be improved, could score a lot of points if they do keep getting better. And we know that they have a brand new offensive coordinator who came from Detroit. And so what kind of magic will Uncle Ben bring in? Wasn't Uncle Ben, isn't there Uncle Ben's Ready Rice? That stuff's pretty good. Now I'm going to forever associate rice with Ben. Probably not a good idea. So we know we need 2 more tight ends and 1 more running back. I'd like to get Gesicki here. He's going to get good volume if he makes it to us here. We know he's a guy in a good offense, should get some volume, and there he goes. I don't want Darren Waller ever unless I have a Miami team, so I'm going to be out on him. I think I'll take a piece of Rico Dowdle, and he'll be our 6th running back on this team. So we'll be done at running back now after we grab Rico Dowdle, and we are tight end or bust through the rest of the draft. So we'll grab a couple tight ends. I have some guys that I like late in drafts to get, and I think that'll work out okay for us. And then after this, we will get into some more best ball drafts, and we're going to continue to talk about best ball drafts strategies. So let me do this while we're waiting. I'll tell you who we drafted tight ends, but I'm going to pull something up for you guys and kind of talk through this while we're waiting to go here. Let me move myself down here. Just looking at this chart, I kind of broke down for you guys based on the data itself, the different best ball draft strategies, and kind of compare them 2023, how effective they were, and then 2024, how that changed, and then some notes about it. So Hero RB it was very effective in an elite category in 2023. It is still elite in 2024. CMC, Bijan made this work in the 2 years. And then 2024, Breece Hall, Gibbs, Barkley filled that role. We know Barkley was the guy you needed last year. If you drafted him as a hero or anchor RB, and then paired that up with a wide receiver avalanche, you hit it off and running, right? So, you feel good about that. Hang on 1 second. We just got to grab a tight end here. I just grabbed Jatavian Sanders, just FYI, in our draft. I know you can't see it on the screen right now because we got this up, but I wanted you guys to be able to see that. And then if we look at the next thing, the 0 RB with at wide receiver avalanche, which basically means, you start out, it's still a viable, option. You get a lot of late round running backs, but you get a little bit of volatility. In 2023, they had people like Achane and Mostert that really broke out from the late rounds. But in 2024, late running backs were a lot less fruitful. They did not pan out. After 23's 0 RB, that was the number one draft strategy. If you listen to anybody talk last year, everyone said you got to go all in on the 0 RB strategy. And then it just didn't pan out. Hero RB or some other strategies, were definitely better last year. And so that killed a lot of people's teams. I was not a 0 RB guy last year. I did not believe that was the growing way to go. I didn't feel that good about it. And I'm proud to say that, I didn't. Then you got elite quarterback and stack. You'll see that it's dominant both years. An elite quarterback with with one of their pass catchers or more did crush in both years. It may not have been quote unquote what you need. You didn't have to have it to win, but the performance of who got into the playoffs and who even got into the finals oftentimes had the elite quarterback and stack. Example of you can consider Joe Burrow even with Jamar Chase or T. Higgins on a double stack. These were some, really, really good options, last year. Then you take a look at hyper fragile running back. It actually get a little bit better. This is where you get 2 to 3 running backs and then stop. It was okay in 23. They got really stronger in 2024 because of the, we'll call it the running back dead zone kind of resurgence. But basically, if your running backs that you took early stayed healthy, you could really steamroll. That's kind of what this explains here. I do not like getting 3 running backs early. I like to get 2. So what I call this the double anchor running back, not hyper fragile. Hyper fragile is similar to this down here, this robust running back where you get 3 running backs in the first 4 to 5 rounds. And it did not pan out well. It underperformed. suboptimal injuries. You don't have enough wide receiver value to make this work for you, and it's really a trap. It's kind of what I call it. And then just kind of going back up, late round quarterbacks plus a value stack, meaning you get your quarterbacks late and you are able to pair them up with some really good values on wide receivers and others, where you can get good valued quarterbacks that fall to you late. I drafted this way a lot last year, and it panned out pretty well for me. When you look at in 2023, it was good. 2024, it's about the same. Guys like CJ Stroud, Jared Goff, even Sam Howell types, it's a little more fragile because you have less of those big spike weeks out of those types of guys. But you get some consistency there, and you can get your spike weeks more in running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. So this still plays really, really effectively. Double elite tight end and elite tight end plus a stack. It got a little bit better because guys like Laporta and Kincaid were going much earlier than they are this year, and they did pretty well in their ADPs. And then Kelsey's dip made it a little bit less expensive to get guys like him. So it performed a little bit better last year. I'm still not sold that it's one of my favorite draft strategies, but I do think I'm treating this year similar to how people are treating zero RB last year. Because there was an improvement in the elite tight end last year, then you went in and people started drafting this year. Oh, you have to draft zero RB. That's the way to go. That's where it's going. They tried to get ahead of the trend and it didn't pan out. I think that the elite tight end could end up being that same way this year, where if you go elite tight end and they either get hurt, there's so few of them, it doesn't pan out. I think it could end up being a dud, next year, and we get caught in it, and you'll say, man, I thought for sure it was going to kill. I will never get dual elite tight end, never, unless there's an absolute extreme plummet of both of the, early tight ends, which is it's just not likely to happen. If it happens once out of 700 drafts, I'll take it. And then you have what they just call a balanced start, where you just kind of go running back, wide receiver, running back, back and forth all the way through until you, through the mid rounds and stuff. It's better for casual leagues to do that for sure, but in best ball, you don't really want that. You're going to want to flex in some talent, either elite quarterback or elite tight end, or you want to mix in a little bit more. And then 3 quarterback builds. This is considered non-elites, is what I mean by when you don't use the elite quarterbacks, you just do 3 quarterback builds, kind of spread through the middle. 3 quarterback builds can work, and to get you into the playoffs at times, but you're only going to use one. I keep telling everybody you want to draft like you're right. So the only time I get 3 quarterback builds is if I'm stacking all of them with pass catchers, and it correlates with week 17. And then you're talking about, maybe at least one of those 3 quarterbacks is a middle tier quarterback, and then the other 2 are late rounders. I don't hate it, but I'd much rather, take some shots. If I'm going to do 3 quarterbacks, if I can get some value stacks with them, I'd rather do it this way. But I tend to try and get the 2 quarterback builds better in the middle of the draft, or one with an elite quarterback. So this kind of helps you guys get an idea of how these have performed from year to year, and kind of what have been the statistically the better ways to perform. But that does not mean just because it performed good last year, it'll perform good this year. And that doesn't mean that's what you need to win. You could get to the playoffs and still lose, and other ones could be successful. So let's jump back into our draft here. So we did finish out that last one, grabbed our 2 tight ends, and now we're on to the next. So Puppy is almost full. We will grab another Puppy 2 draft to keep this thing rolling. If you're just joining, or you fast forwarded through this for some reason to look at the chart that I just put on the screen, and you didn't listen to anything I said in the beginning, then this is Underdog Fantasy. That's what we're drafting here. We draft every night, usually around 10 to midnight Central Time, that time frame. Love doing it. I draft over. I'm already over 325 drafts this year. I'm probably going to get over 700 by the time the season's done. Different tournaments, some high dollar tournaments, some smaller tournaments, and I do this. I've done this for the last 4 or 5 years on best ball, and been doing a lot of fantasy football. Your regular home leagues. Done some dynasty leagues. So just here to offer my thoughts, my opinions, my support. We're trying to win $2 million. We're trying to win $100,000. We've been pretty successful over the last few years, and we like to keep that going. So if you're on here, thanks for watching. Do me a favor, hit the like button, please, down below. It would really help out. We're trying to build this channel up. I'd love for you to be a part of that growth, and we can grow together. Subscribe, and then hit the notification bell if you want to know when I'm going live. And you can jump in a draft with us. That's always a good time. Draft together, and put some comments down below, and we can kind of talk a little bit about whatever's on your mind. We can talk draft strategy, player thoughts, whatever you want to talk about, my friends. All right. So we're starting this one up. We have the 111. We'll see how this goes. 1 through 5, some badge drafters, and then we get 4 non-badge drafters in a row. Got to get the protein in. Kind of hurt my shoulder. I'm not really sure what I did to it, but I'm thinking it's like a rotator cuff thing. So skip the gym today, but I'm still going to get that protein in. But I'm a little worried about my shoulder here. All right, I just realized what we did. It did the same thing to us yesterday. So we did a fast draft, and they went ahead and they turned this into a slow draft again. So we will not get into a puppy. We are going to have to get into another draft. So could do some of these different unique ones. If we get enough people watching, we might get into a 500 one. But we'll probably do a best ball mania draft. We do a 73 more entries here. $25 entry, 672,000 people will enter. Weeks 1 through 14, 2 out of 12 will advance in their pod. Then weeks 15, 1 out of 13. Weeks 16, 1 out of 16. And then if you make it to the finals, it is a 539-seat final. $2 million to first place, $1 million to second, and a lot of life-changing money can happen here in this tournament. And this is what everybody is shooting for here. And you can kind of see that breakdown, how that works here. So we'll get into one of these. And then let's change our banner here, I guess, because we are no longer in a puppy draft. We are now in a best ball mania draft. Boom, we're back in it. Going back, we got the 105. I like it. We're going to get some of my favorite players here at the 105. Going back here to talk about, now that we've kind of talked about what's been effective in 23 and 24 by data and, actual performance, I'm going to talk about what I anticipate are going to be my personal top draft strategies in 2025. I'm just going to give you my top 5. I'm going to go backwards, and then I'll keep them on the screen after we finish this draft. So at number 5, 0 RB. It's not my favorite. It can be effective. I don't want to not have any drafts that are 0 RB. That last draft we did was pretty close because we didn't get a running back. We took our first running back in round 6. Normally, true 0 RB is usually when you're getting after round 6 or 7, and you start getting them. But that's a version of 0 RB is what we just did there. And as you saw, it can work. It can pan out really well. And I will do that from time to time. I mean, if the draft doesn't give us what we want, I'm not going to go make something out of nothing. So I'm perfectly okay doing the 0 RB strategy. But that is my number 5 ranked strategy. So number 4 is the late round quarterback strategy. All right, we're on the clock. We're gonna get CeeDee Lamb. I don't have a lot of CD this year. I have not gotten a lot of the 5th round or pick 5s. I've had a lot of 1 through 4. So late round quarterback strategy is my number 4 ranked draft strategy. I think the reason I feel this way this year is if you look at the changes in draft in quarterbacks, you can get some great quarterback values, and I tend to let the quarterbacks come to me. The reason this is ranked 4 is you kind of eliminate some of that risk. You take on some risk, I should say, with a late round quarterbacks that they could flop. Usually when I do late round quarterbacks, I'm taking 3 of them, stacking all of them, and trying to get some week 17 correlations with teams to kind of add to the upside. But if you look at guys like Cam Ward, if you saw the news today, Levis from the Titans, some people thought it was going to be a quarterback competition. They've just announced today he's out for the season. He's going to go have shoulder surgery. So it is Cam Ward's team all the way through the rest of this year. They're going to ride him out, and he's got legs. He can do it. He's going late in drafts. No problem. You got guys like Matt Stafford, who's a consistent guy who can get you points consistently, has a good floor. He's going to throw in that offense. He likes to sling the ball. You have quarterbacks like Bryce Young, who came on at the end of last year, has a brand new shiny weapon, and Tet McMillan. So there's just guys down there that I think you can make really work. Let's see what comes to us at 20. So y'all know I like Tyreek Hill. I like Brock Bowers. I'm not a big Bucky guy. I don't take as much elite tight end, and you'll hear that as we continue to talk about our draft strategies. Elite tight end is not in my top 5 of preferred draft strategies, but I will take them when they fall far enough. Number 3 for me is the elite quarterback and their stack. I definitely want to mix them in. You saw that last draft. That's an example of the elite quarterback because you're going to get Lamar Jackson there. He was an elite quarterback for us. That a lot of upside. You only have to draft 2 quarterbacks, when you take an elite quarterback. So it allows you to take that, instead of having 3 quarterbacks, you take that extra shot on a running back or a wide receiver and kind of gives you more opportunities for spike weeks at those more volatile positions, if you will. My number 2 favorite draft strategy this year is going to be the double hero RB. So there's a lot of running back depth, but there's also a lot of people that are starting to figure out that last year running backs fell later because people were in on that 0 RB strategy. They had no problem waiting, and the wide receiver avalanche last year was absolutely ridiculous. The fall off in wide receivers last year was insane. And so let's see here. Sorry, we're on the clock here. Garrett Wilson went. We'll go ahead and get Davante Adams. So we'll start out with a little bit of that avalanche. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, 3 strong wide receivers right out the gate to pair up with each other. But yeah, the double hero RB, this is just an example where I think there's enough wide receiver firepower in the first 7 rounds where if you take 2, not more than 2, but if you take 2 running backs, in the first 3 rounds, I kind of gave some examples earlier. Like if you look at the draft board here, if you took Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, Bijan and Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, and just really, CMC Achane, CMC Henry, Ashton Genty. I mean, any of these 2 combinations here, or even if you wanted to throw in round 3, you've got different guys in here like Breece Hall, I guess you can find and consider him. I would even argue for me, I consider it, it kind of drops off. Once Hampton goes, then that 2 RB strategy kind of goes out the window because Hampton I consider a 3rd round value where we're getting him in the 4th. So, but any of those combinations of premium backs can really be strong. You really want to do it in the first 2 rounds, ideally. But depending on what falls to you, it could be okay. There's enough wide receiver value to go ahead and do that strategy this year, where I think it was a lot harder last year, and I think it's going to be really effective. You just the trick is to find the running backs that you think are going to stay the healthiest. So we're 1 pick away. I really want Hampton to be our guy. That would be a killer start for us if it works out that way, and it will. Love it when a plan comes together. Love it, love it. So the way we're kind of playing this is you can kind of use him as kind of like a, if he's, if we want to draft like we're right, then Hampton can be an extremely valued running back, and if he pops off and he really should be a first round guy, then technically we have a anchor, running back strategy type of play here. James Cook goes at 47. We're going to see what kind of falls around to us. I really like this start. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, loaded with targets, huge upside. Hampton on an offense that's going to love to run the ball first. Great prospect. Didn't have to reach on him. I mean, I'm really loving our start here. Williams goes. Ridley goes. So we're going to take Kenneth Walker here, 51. He'll be the ADP faller. I'd be happy with any of these guys as well, but Kenneth Walker with Hampton, we got the rookie, and then we have somebody who's kind of a little more proven. What a really nice start to this draft, I think. I feel really good about what we're doing here. So last but not least, just kind of sharing my number 1 strategy for drafts this year, and that's going to be what I'm going to call the anchor RB or hero RB with a wide receiver avalanche. So for me, I may flex in a tight end, an elite tight end. I might flex in a elite quarterback into some of these concepts, but basically it's first or second round, I'm getting an anchor running back. And then after that, I am pounding wide receivers for the first 7 rounds, and I'll throw in a tight end or a quarterback in there. Usually not both. If I get my elite tight end, I'm probably going to leave the quarterback alone, and vice versa. And so through 7 rounds, that would look like having, let's just say this. Through the first 5 rounds, I'm probably going to have 1 running back, 3 to 4 wide receivers, and then when I get to round 6 and 7, I might get definitely 1 more wide receiver, maybe even 2. So it might look like a quarterback, 1 running back, and 4 or 5 wide receivers. That is going to be my favorite way to play this year. And let's update our ticker here. Oops, at the bottom. And so you can see at the bottom of the screen, I did kind of throw up there, just kind of in order as a reminder, if you're just joining us, on what my top 5 draft strategies are going to be this year. If you go back in this video, if you fast forward or you watch later, you're going to see, hold on, we're on the clock. It was a second here. See what Docs does. He takes Swift. I think we're going to go ahead and get another receiver. Take Jordan Addison here. That feels like a good option. And then give me just 1 second. I think my cat wants in. I'm going to let her in and open the door. Cat's a little needy tonight. Her name is Mocha, if you want to know. And Mocha wants to party with us because she knows that this draft is winning us $2 million because we are in a Best Ball Mania draft. And so far, I'm really in love with this team. We'll have to see if we get these quarterbacks that come back around to correlate. But, we have a lot of options with kind of how this draft can play out for us here. It's 77 and see some great options here. We could go wide receiver. We could grab another running back. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab Isaiah Pacheco here for our third running back. So far through 6 rounds, we have Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, and Isaiah Pacheco at running back. Wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Jordan Addison at wide receiver. We do not have a tight end yet, and we do not have a quarterback yet, but there will be plenty of stacking options to come because of who our wide receivers are and who they can stack with. So this team's got potential. This team has a lot of potential if we can hit our stacks, maybe build some correlations for week 17 as we go. I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I really appreciate anybody who stops in, checks it out, listens, enjoys. Just as a reminder, hit the like button if you can. We'd really appreciate it. I don't want to overdo it, but for someone here who does this for fun, I enjoy it. I'm drafting teams anyway, whether I'm on stream or not. And so if I can do it on here, offer some thoughts, advice, guidance, give you guys some entertainment, then hey, let's party together. Come on in. The water's fine. But it is appreciated if you guys share a little love. It does help support the channel. And then I will be live trying to do every night between 10 and midnight Central Time. And if you jump on here with us, you can get into a draft with us and throw some comments, live chat with us, and I'll take any questions you have. If you'd like any, you want some opinions, you want me to take a look at your draft, give me some, want my opinion on anything, happy to share it. All right. It's coming around. TJ Hawkinson goes at 87, Josh Downs at 88. Let's see what we're going to have coming up. See a couple things I think I'd like to do here. I think I want to get another receiver here. I think I'll go Cooper Kupp. He could get a lot of volume. Maybe he's a little healthier this year. They did lose some receivers. They might need a veteran guy like him to, be a good floor for our team. He might be the kind of guy that we want on this team. So when we look at quarterback stacking, we know we're not going to pick again until 116. So we have to take that into account when we look at the quarterbacks where we can take a chance that Dak Prescott comes back around to pair. We will have some options in the back. So I'm not going to force it. I'm going to see if it comes to me. I talked about that earlier, that if I were to force it now, I'm giving up on all this value here on players that are better than what's going to be later. So we're going to try and just take what comes to us. And we're going to get my man, Travis Kelce. If you watched the video yesterday, I showed some of my exposures, and he is my number one exposed player. That sounds bad. I've exposed him and all the Swifties out there. But he's my number one drafted player, not just at tight end, but overall in terms of exposure rate so far. And that's simply because of where he goes in drafts. I think people take for granted just how good he is and the connection that he has on a really good offense with a great quarterback, with a great head coach, with a great team who prioritizes throwing the ball, and they're going to continue to do that. Your Rashee Rice news just came out, and he's going to probably miss some time, maybe 6 games. I don't understand why he's going as where he is. He's actually going earlier now, 101, than he was after the news from Rashee Rice, and I think he'll keep rising. So I'm going to keep getting him until he gets a little too high. But I think he's going where he's supposed to now. I was actually getting him in rounds 10 and 11 early on, but he's a great fit for this team. And man, I'm really feeling good about how our team is shaping up. And we would love it if Dak Prescott came around to pair with our man CeeDee Lamb. If not, we won't lose our minds, but that would be an ideal scenario. MG93 goes Tajay Spears at 111. Got Coach Laxer on the board. I don't really know what that name means, but he goes Stevenson. If he doesn't take Dak here, the chances we get him are strong because the other next two guys already have two quarterbacks. So I feel really good about our chances of rolling right into Dak Prescott here. And we will get him. And this is exactly why I said earlier, yes, we could have forced the Dak, but then we would have lost out on Travis Kelce. And you kind of have to look at things in a 2v2 manner sometimes. Would you have rather had Dak here at 101 and then say get, let's see what tight ends on the board. Mark Andrews, not a terrible trade, right? But instead we can get Travis Kelce and we still get Dak Prescott, So I think it worked out to our benefit. This is why I always talk about this is you don't want to force your picks if you can avoid it. Back-to-back tight ends go. Mark Andrews and Njoku coming back around here. Oh, boy. Let's see. Marvin Mims goes. We can go Tucker Kraft, Christian Kirk. These are all guys that I kind of like. You know what? We can actually go Javonte here. And he'll kind of be sort of another stack with Dak Prescott, actually. I liked any of those guys. I wouldn't be mad if I got any of them, but strength in a running back room. If he's the pass catcher you need on Dallas, you've double correlated them. And, I've explained this already that having a pass catcher and a running back as part of your stack with your quarterback can absolutely be successful. It has been proven. And, you can look at last year's BBM winner, I believe, had, I know he had Jordan Love, but he also had Josh on his team. Why am I losing my mind here? Josh Jacobs on his team. So you can definitely pair that up. And I could be wrong. I might have set a really bad example. Maybe Josh was not on that team, but on the winning team. But I know for a fact that Jordan Love was. All right, 8 more picks, and we'll come back around to us. And we're going to get into, rounds 12, 13, where we're going to get a couple more of our quarterback stacking options to go with our fantastic wide receiver room. And so we're feeling really good about that because as we keep going down here, we're going to run into guys like Tua and Stafford, which we won't need to get now. We can wait on them and see which one of them falls, right? Can't believe Najee Harris is still here at 121. We've already got Hampton. I'm not opposed to taking both of them in this offense. And I would lie to you if I wasn't somewhat tempted. So I kind of want someone to take him here to just remove the temptation for me. And there he goes. So instead, I'm actually going to grab Jake Ferguson here. He'll be another stack with Dallas for Dak Prescott. Now, this does give 2 tight ends with Week 10 buys. It doesn't matter to me because I'm probably still going to get a third tight end anyway with how this team is going to play out. So I'm not really worried about that. My target here is going to be either Cedric Tillman or one of our quarterbacks. Tillman, I like a lot. I think he's my number 1 prime breakout candidate in the back half of drafts, kind of like your shots. He's going to be the number 2 in an offense, 6'3" receiver, showed explosiveness, just didn't stay healthy last year. Kind of looking at the quarterbacks, there's a lot of teams that already have 2 and 3 quarterbacks before we pick next. So I'm going to try and push the quarterbacks a little further and see if, well, there goes Tua, so I spoke too soon. He went right after us. But I wanted to push and see if one of them would come back to us. We still have Sam Darnold down here that could pair with Cooper Kupp and Kenneth Walker as a double stack. So we still have options. But ideally, we'll get Matthew Stafford to come back to us on the other side. So far, while we're waiting, we're 10 picks away. We have quarterback Dak Prescott. Running back, we have Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, and Javonte Williams. At wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, the Cheetah, Devontae Adams, Jordan Addison, Cooper Kupp, Cedric Tillman. And then at tight end, we have Travis Kelce and Jake Ferguson. This is a really complete team. And I would tell you that if I can get Stafford to fall all the way down here, 8 picks, knock on wood, it's a little less likely than I don't love the odds, but if it happens, I will say this is one of the most complete teams that you can draft in Best Ball Mania, and this team will be well on its way to winning $2 million. I feel like we just have to get past MG93 here. And we did. I do want to see where the Puka drafter is. So Element here has Puka. So we have to dodge him. No, we don't, because someone already took Stafford and I missed it. Well, that kind of stinks, right? But that's okay. We're going to grab. We're just going to not play around now. We're going to grab our guy, Sam Darnold. I would have preferred if we could have stolen Matthew Stafford instead, but this still could work out. And we have some ways to keep this thing rolling. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're got some flexibility the way we built our team. We're not stuck into getting a specific position or player. And there is something that I like to do, and I'm going to see if I can pull it off here. In the back end of these drafts. A lot of times in this side of the board, this is where the premium quarterbacks tend to go, is on the right side of the board. And so when the quarterbacks come back from the other side, you generally don't see as many go on that side. All right, well, that didn't do what I wanted it to do, but that's okay. Choices. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to take Anthony Richardson a little earlier than I normally do. With Anthony Richardson, he's getting healthy. They're saying he's recovered. He's competing with a guy who had a good contract, and they still got rid of him in Daniel Jones. Anthony Richardson's rushing ability, his ability to throw the deep ball, if he can be accurate and he can read defenses well and show progress, and he can really take ownership, and this is his team, then him getting drafted back here, I mean, he could be the league winner and have the equivalent of Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels because he can run like they can. If he just gets his passing together, he has shown flashes where, I mean, he can be an absolute just smash. And, I'm getting him actually usually down here in the 16th, 17th, 18th round, but because we have what I call luxury picks with the way we drafted our team, where we don't need any particular position. We're not weak anywhere. We can go ahead and pull him a little earlier. And I've explained this before. You can scroll down further in drafts on the boards the later in drafts you get. So don't be afraid to scroll the F down. So we're going to get one more running back, one more wide receiver, and one more tight end is how we're going to do this draft. So, okay, Datton goes. We're going to take Mason Taylor here as our last tight end. Mason Taylor, rookie running back on an offense that's looking for more pass catchers, not named Garrett Wilson. Don't even know who the number 2 guy is going to really be in this team, truthfully. So he might be the number 2 target and could be extremely undervalued. And, in our tight end room could really make this a solid tight end room, if you will. So now we're looking at running back and wide receiver to kind of cap this draft off. I definitely see some guys I like. But I think I'm going to go A.D. Mitchell here to pair with Anthony Richardson is what I'm probably going to do. But I'll probably do him last because he's less likely to go. And then I'll do... We'll get Nick Chubb as our last running back to complete that room. And then if all goes as planned, A.D. Mitchell will be our guy. I'm pretty sure the Colts don't have anybody else that's left on the board worth drafting. I mean, they've already taken their primary 3, Josh Downs, Pittman, and Alec Pierce. A.D.'s kind of a long shot dart throw, but, one of those guys gets hurt, misses time, or he just shows out. If you look at A.D. last year, I mean, only 55 targets, 312 yards, no touchdowns. So he didn't exactly set the world on fire, but he's got some speed, game-breaking ability. Maybe he'll increase his workload this year. There is a chance of that happening. But when we get a guy like Anthony Richardson, we're counting on his legs. We don't need to have his pass catcher there. So, there are some other options that I like, to kind of look at. We'll look at one thing really quickly. Carolina. And actually, A.D. Mitchell went. We could do another stack with Seattle if we wanted to, but I think I'm going to go another route. Jalen Tolbert, we could get extra crazy with him, but we're not going to. I think we're pretty deep there. I don't think we need to go all in. I do like Tyler Lockett because he's gonna get some action. But I'm gonna get Jalen Coker, assuming he falls here. He shows some upside. 478 yards, 2 touchdowns last year. Second year guy. part of the reason why I like him as well is Carolina is who plays Seattle in Week 17. And we've said it before. I'll say it again. Week 17 is all that matters because you're trying to win $2 million, and this could be a $2 million team. So let's go through it. We have a 3-5-7-3 build. Dak Prescott, Sam Darnold, Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Running back, we have Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, Javonte Williams, Nick Chubb. Wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Jordan Addison, Cooper Kupp, Cedric Tillman, and Jalen Coker. Tight end, we have Travis Kelce, Jake Ferguson, and Mason Taylor. We paired up Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, and Javonte Williams with Dak Prescott. Sam Darnold, we have Kenneth Walker and Cooper Kupp. We have a bring back there, a Week 17 game against Carolina. And then we have Anthony Richardson on Indy without a stack, and we don't need it because we're using him for his legs because he's a running quarterback and he can still earn us some points. So I feel great about how this team turned out. I think if I were to do anything differently, or if when I look at this board and I try and look back and say, okay, what would I have done differently if I could? I guess if instead of Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford would have made it to us, I think I would have liked that better. In a 2v2 scenario, you could say, we could have had Tua instead of Tillman, and then maybe we had, Alec Pierce instead of Darnold. I mean, that probably would be the change that I would maybe make is swap Tillman for Pierce and Tua for Darnold. That could have been it. And then we'd have another stack with, Richardson. But at the end of the draft, you can't say that nothing ever works out perfectly, but this is pretty close to perfect in how you want to draft it. So I'm really, really happy with this team. I think we're going to be done tonight for drafting. We may get on. We'll probably be on again tomorrow. But before I go, I will do one more thing for you. Let me pop this up one more time for you guys and just kind of recap a little bit about our draft strategies as I'm talking through this. My number one draft strategy this year is going to be Hero RB with a wide receiver avalanche, number 2, double Hero RB, number 3, elite quarterback, number 4, late round quarterbacks, 3 of them, and number 5, 0 RB. Those are going to be my preferred builds. If you take a look on the screen, I'll just leave that up there one more time. It's just kind of a comparison that I put together that looks at 2023, what was effective, 2024, how it evolved and what was effective, how those things have changed and why. And this hopefully will help you as you plan your best ball drafts and your strategies to set yourself up for success, to win some money, not to take $25 or $5 or whatever you've got to spend and light it on fire or throw it into a trash can or donate it, if you will, to people like myself or the Goodwill. If this smartens you up and helps you become a better drafter, it's all about education, right? When I started doing this, I'd hear people talking about anchor RBs and hero RBs and avalanches and hyper fragile teams. And I said, what are we talking about here? Why does that matter? So I hope this was a beneficial stream for you guys. I hope you found some value in it. One last thing, just again, please, if you got any value out of this at all, enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. I don't do this for money. I really don't. I do this for fun. And, we're trying to build this up together. I'd love for you to come on here. Give me your opinions. What are your favorite draft strategies? Leave a comment below. Tell me what you like. What are you rolling with this year? Why do you believe that's the right way to go? You can convince me otherwise, right? And if you can get on here with us, the notification will let you know when I'm going live. We can get on a draft together and just talk about what's going on. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys, everybody, for being on here. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Roll into Tuesday. Stay positive, stay blessed, and let's just have ourselves a great week. Thanks, guys.